Get my stretcher on. Oh man, what's going on, people? It's your boy Livewire, and I'm back in the motherfucking building, baby. What's that? Oh, new topic today. Something I avoided the other day, which I'm kind of glad I did, for the simple fact that more news came out, and I'm sure there'll be more news that comes out later, whatever. Discussing, coalition and it possibly working on a new game. Constantly getting locked on Twitter. What's going on, Just Stream? But yeah, so anyway, the coalition. People thought or believe that they're working on a game, a new IP. I believe Microsoft came out and said that the coalition is just working on Gears like they planned, and people that are upset about it have reverted back to, well, coalition and 343 need to be like Naughty Dog. That's their belief. I don't know. And the reason why I say I don't know is because I don't think we know enough. I think a lot of people are just assuming, what's going on. Yeah, I heard about the Halo show, the Halo TV show. I don't know when it's coming. It says the series is coming soon. I got to check that shit out. I didn't see. Do they have a date for it, Jit? Because I didn't see anything about it. As far as like when it's coming out, I just know it's in production. That's all I heard about it. But this is my thoughts about the coalition. I think people they just been speculating. They don't know. They just assume that because Coalition is a studio either around the same size of Gorilla or Naughty Dog, that they should be doing and making the same moves as Naughty Dog. And as an outsider, I don't know what moves they should be making. But what I will tell you is this. All the people that said Microsoft's Gears of War flopped, they didn't make any money. They didn't even break even, all that shit, right? All that shit is debunked. Because if Gears of War didn't make any money and it completely flopped, remember, before Gears of War 4, there was Gears of War Judgment, which didn't do terribly well, right? So with that being said, if Gears of War 4, wasn't the success that it was, Microsoft wouldn't have their coalition team, primed and ready to be working on another one. Look, all these big companies that have successful IPs, for the most part, they continue making those IPs, right? When you have a company because you got to remember, like, you have development teams and then you have publishers, right? So Ubisoft is a publisher. They have multiple teams for that publisher. So it's not like Ubisoft is making Ghost Recon Division, blah, 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 all at the same time. No, they're the publisher. They have all those games under their belt as the publisher. Coalition is a developer. 343 is a developer. Freaking what's the other? Naughty Dog and Guerrilla Games and Santa Monica. These are developers, right? They're not going to have a whole bunch of games under their belt. Now, the thing that's unique to Naughty Dog versus 343 and Coalition is Gears of War is a bigger game than Uncharted. Halo is a bigger game than Uncharted. It made more money, right? You know, it consistently made more money, right? Especially with the Halo games, right? This Uncharted 4 is the first Uncharted that really made some, you know, noticeable amount of money, right? Because look, even the Halo that people said was shit and was broken and blah blah blah, that still made over 5 million. See what I'm saying? On a console that didn't have the same user base as the PS4. So Halo is a bigger IP. Gears is a bigger IP. Because I'm not even sure if Uncharted is $1 billion franchise as of yet. As of yet. Man, what are you writing? It says, and faggot is a very offensive slur. Try not to call people that or even use the word in general. You'll keep getting locked. Eh, it is what it is. I say if people stop being faggots, they won't be called faggots. I'm just saying. Or AKA bitch made ass motherfuckers. But like what I was saying with the coalition, man. We don't know what their dealings are in their company, you know, as far as really what makes them tick and why they do what they do, because we don't fucking work there. Like every company's different. And I think people fail to realize that. You know, now Naughty Dog works on multiple games, and I believe they were saying they needed a break because they basically worked on uh Uncharted, Last Legacy. They probably also they're started working on The Last of Us. You know, they remastered The Last of Us like 100 times, but granted, you don't need that many people to just remaster The Last of Us. I would hope not. What's going on, Philosopher Doom? So, with Naughty Dog, their situation is different. And it's similar to what Guerrilla Games. Like people praise Guerrilla Games for Horizon Zero Dawn, but they fail to realize that Killzone was a shitty game. It wasn't all right. Like, it wasn't the worst game. It wasn't like unplayable garbage, but it wasn't anything amazing, you know? So for them to work on another game, that wasn't really a big deal for them to do it because, you know, their primary game that they did a Killzone 1, a Killzone 2, did they do Killzone 3? Because that wasn't Killzone 3, it was Killzone Shadowfall. They did like some PSP Killzone and then I think it was Killzone Shadowfall. So it was like 4 or 5 Killzones or some shit like that. Right? So they did a couple of Killzones before they even got to Horizon Zero Dawn. And none of those games were successful. Not on the level of like a Gears or a Halo. It wasn't on that level of success. So because of that, that's why it was easy to say, okay, you know what? We'll put this franchise down and move on and try something different for right now and maybe revisit that in a later date. It's just easier to do. What the fuck? Telemarketer. I get them all the time. But yeah, you're talking about revisiting that in a later date, man. But anyway, I wanted to listen to this thing by Porter Rock. He was talking about it. And I kind of let you see what your thoughts on it as well. Let me see. Damn, where did I put that video? Okay, and I gotta search for this shit. Where's this shit? I mean, but Cat's been talking about this whole get these studios to work on other stuff. Now, I will say this. We know that the coalition is in other studios. I'm going to say just the coalition, but 343, the coalition, Rare, they work with other studios under Microsoft's umbrella in order to help them with their development. So yes, they do have a primary game, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing they work on, and that doesn't mean that just because they don't have their name on the, as the main developer of the game, that doesn't mean they didn't work on the game. There's all. I mean, I look at it as I equate it to the same thing as like that Star Wars movie that came out. Was it Episode 3? Where Steven Spielberg worked on, like, I think it was 1/4 of the movie, like towards the end with the fight with Obi-Wan versus young Anakin Skywalker. Well, not young, but before he became Darth Vader and shit. And but it's still a George Lucas movie, even though Spielberg directed 1/4 of it. And helped out with a couple other things, but it's still, it's still a George Lucas production. So I mean, Coalition and 343 and Rare, they could also do something similar. Obviously, Rare is helping out with PUBG, maybe not the entire team. We don't know who from Rare. I mean, not Rare. Coalition is helping out with PUBG, but we know that they brought a couple of people over there, or having them work back and forth. I mean, they might not be physically there, just like, bouncing ideas off, sending information, working on code, who knows? But they're working on PUBG in some facet. All right, so let's see what Porter Rock has to say. I'm gonna skip some of this shit because you don't need it.
Bro, Fable making a return. Xbox fanboys, but on the GRG podcast, I'll go on what I'm excited about this. I was excited that Coalition, the talent they have, was potentially being applied to a new IP, right? And that was ran on. A couple of channels already ran Outdoor, one of my favorite Xbox channels, podcast. He puts out good content. He made a video about it, so it was all good. I think it was Simon. What I appreciate with all the rumors and these little tidbits was the conversation was back to gaming, and I was enjoying that. I was enjoying that gamers were talking more about gaming than the usual power enhancements and 4K and this that. It's old. Those topics are old anyway.
All right.
But Microsoft came out with a clarification and completely denied that the Coalition is working on a new IP other than Gears of War. So apparently they're not. Categorically denied the involvement standout mindset. Yet the studio can only exclusively make Gears of War or any game, Gears of War franchise game. That's all they can do. And I don't understand how that's even. I don't know how that's even economical. Caught.
Well, I'll say this. The reason why Gears and Halo are able to make one game and Microsoft not get on their back about making one game is because those games make a shit ton of money. I mean, when Uncharted stops making money, Gears doesn't stop making money. When Uncharted stops making money, Halo doesn't stop making money. Those games still generate money from people not only buying them new, but also buying them for their in-game currency, as in Halo with its what's it called? I forget those shits because I don't never buy them. I forget what that shit's called. Halo with their Halo money and Gears with their crates and shit. And you get skins and other shit, right? That's how they make money on top of already making money off of people buying the game, right? Because people play it. It's competitive. Because it's a competitive game, people tend to come back. There's people that just live on Gears or live on Halo. That's all they play. I don't know many people that live on Uncharted or know of many people that live on Uncharted. I'm sure there are people that do, just like people, play Gears like that. But I just think that the sheer numbers aren't there for people that, care to just only play Uncharted versus Gears and Halo. and that's the reason why Microsoft will keep them on those games. I mean, it's no different than Destiny. Look at Destiny. Destiny came out and it was successful. Why isn't Bungie making a new game? They could have made a new game. They didn't have to make Destiny 2, right? They were successful with Destiny 1. They could have just made something else. But yet, the money that they made off of Destiny 1 said, damn, we got to make another Destiny. And some people will say, well, they had a contract with Activision, so that's what they had to. Well, look at this. Before they signed that contract, they could have put it into their contract that they have to make more than one game. But yet they didn't for whatever reason. And my question will be, well, if developers want to play all these games, make all these games, and Destiny was a free agent and they had the option to make as many games as they want, they chose to go with Activision over Microsoft because they wanted freedom to make whatever they wanted, right? And then they go to Activision and then are locked into a deal where they make one game. Is it that they really wanted to make new games, or they just wanted out of their deal with Microsoft? They didn't like their cut. I think that's probably what it was more than anything. It wasn't so much them making the same game. It was them getting the amount of money for making that game that they wanted to be changed. That's what the real difference is. Oh yeah, fuck Destiny. I don't really give a fuck about Destiny. I used to, me, DJ, saying I bought it and then I got it refunded and bought Madden. But I say this, look at Activision. We got Call of Duty that comes out every year, right? Every year, Call of Duty comes out. Those studios, and it's 3 studios that make Call of Duty. They don't make shit else. They do 3 years, and every 3 years they pop out a Call of Duty, right? It's I forget the name of the damn studio, Sledgehammer, and I forget because I don't play Call of Duty, so I can't remember. But it's 3 of them motherfuckers, man. Right? And you're pretty much using the same assets and all that stuff, so that's why they're able to turn around and kind of get them out in a timely fashion. But yeah, oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I know Microsoft still owns 10% of Bungie, DJ, which is why shit. As long as Destiny make money, they cool with that too. They don't give a shit. That's why they said fuck that marketing deal. They don't need no marketing deals. They already making 10. They make 10% of whatever that game makes off the jump. So getting the marketing deal is pointless for them. It's like giving back the money. I said fuck it. We'll just if PlayStation makes all the sales, cool. We still get paid. It's all good with them. Like it's more apparent than anything. Microsoft is about the money, man. Like if these games, look at all the games that Microsoft canceled. Right? Scalebound. That was in development hell. People didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Got canceled. Fable Legends. Called the guys, they said they could do something, weren't able to do it. They said, fuck it. We're gonna cut our losses. And the game got canceled. Project Spark. Game came out. Nobody used it. Nobody used that shit. There might have been like a handful of motherfuckers on that Project Spark, bro. It's going to be very similar to that Dream game when it comes out. Because the Dream game is very similar. It's like a create your own game type shit. And most people are not going to fuck with that shit. I understand the concept and what they were trying to do. It's like kind of like developing, like people interested in making games and or people that are just young people that could possibly grow into becoming developers. It's a cool concept, but it probably just wasn't. It was costing too much, and they weren't getting enough back for what they had there. So hey, it is what it is. But But yeah, man, with Coalition, uh, what we do know is that them and the other uh, three major studios. Well, it's like yeah. So you got Coalition, 343, Rare, and Turn 10, and they all allow each other to utilize their services as well as um, other people that are in that work with Microsoft. Because I wouldn't be surprised if 343 or Turn 10 or one of them got the car mechanic to work better. Because what I've heard on, I didn't play PUBG on PC, but what I did hear is that driving on PC was terrible. They said that shit was god awful. And for me, I didn't find that shit hard at all to drive on PUBG first time I jumped in there.
Most effective to utilize your talent pool just for one thing and one thing only. I really don't get it. I listen. I could understand some studios have to be that way for certain reasons. For example, Forza, Turn 10 Studios, and Polyphony Digital. Racing. No one in the, so they have to learn about the industry in of Top Gear and all that stuff. Another studio I can understand is the sports studios. You know, the studio that's in charge of Madden from EA. I understand that's the only game they're really gonna make. PlayStation, San Diego Studios. They're the ones that make MLB the Show. I understand they can't handle more than one IP, especially when the IP you do make has to come out every year because this is sports. It's an annual sports games. Sports games always come out every year, so they don't have time to worry about another project when they have to consistently release a game, and that game has to come out like in the same month all the time, every single year. And they have to always find a way, excuse me, they always have to find a way to make enhancements, make it play better, animate better, new play calling techniques, all that stuff. So I get it.
This is the question I would ask. How is Naughty Dog any different than Activision when it comes to putting out their games? Right? Hear me out. Call of Duty has a different character for the most part every year, right? They pretty much run on the same engine, same assets for the most part. Yeah, they switch up the story and things of that nature, and they got a different campaign, and then they have a different multiplayer. My thing is, how's that any different than what Naughty Dog does for The Last of Us and Uncharted? I'm just asking. Character models are very similar, really similar. So you're not really making because the thing is, people are like, oh, you could just easily just make another game like Gears, but not Gears. But I'm like, yo, you could easily take Drake and put him in The Last of Us and have him face with the back of his head towards, with the back of his head, facing towards the screen, never show his face, and then nobody would know that was Drake until you turn the camera around. Because they all those character models are very much the same. There's nothing distinctive like, oh, this is their different look in Last of Us versus the Uncharted. It's the same. The shit is all the same. But let's let them continue.
That. But Coalition, what they're doing is just a third-person shooter, a great third-person shooter, but it's a third-person shooter nonetheless. All right, it's not something as in depth, or I don't even want to say in depth, but it's not the same as, again, what Turn 10 is responsible for, what Polyphony Digital is responsible for, or what San Diego Studios is responsible for. All right. I don't understand what's the problem with Coalition, and even I'm gonna throw in 343, which is probably even a bigger studio, being able to handle multiple projects when it's already being done. Right? Again, Naughty Dog, they're handling multiple projects.
Yeah, but Naughty Dog is the only one doing it. like people bring up Naughty Dog, but who else is doing this other than Naughty Dog? You know, you can't bring up Platinum because they got a game that got canceled, so that's a fail. So that's not a good example. And most of their games are small anyway. Scalebound was going to be the biggest game they had, other than Ninja Turtles. That's a small game. That's a double A. The Near Automata. That's another double A. What else do they have? I can't even remember the fucking rest. And a bunch of other real small shit. But they don't do like AAA games other than Scalebound. That was going to be their one AAA game, and that shit didn't even come out. So you know, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not that easy. I mean, you know what I look at this as? Some people are able to do things really well. Like look at the sports world, right? You had people like, say, Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan, amazing basketball player, amazing, best we've ever seen. You know, to some people, right? Unless you're going way back and you said you saw Will Chamberlain or whoever. But for the most part, the younger generation, Michael Jordan's probably the best you've ever seen, and now it's LeBron, right? But Michael Jordan took his chance to try to play some baseball. Not so good though. I'm just saying he was mediocre at best. Tracy McGrady, great basketball player in the NBA, well, in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Was it NBA Hall of Fame? Basketball Hall of Fame. And he took his hand, tried his hand at baseball, trying to be a pitcher. He did not fare so well. Still a great athlete, even when he was trying out. I think he was in his, I don't even think Tracy McGrady's 40 yet. He's probably like 38, 39, something like that. But, you know, he wasn't able to cut it, you know. Another one, look at Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, one of the best corners ever. Baseball player, he was okay. You know, he was more flashy, but he wasn't really like spectacular, bro. He was okay at best. All right. Not Barry Sanders. Bo Jackson, another one. Amazing running back. Amazing. And he was actually a pretty good baseball player. But he was a better running back than he was a baseball player. By far. And he tore his hip up, and then he became a okay baseball player for a few years after he healed up from his hip injury. But, you know, there's not too many people that could really do both. There aren't many. I don't, like legitimately do both. No, you're really not going to find that. You're really not. And I think that because of the way their studios are set up as far as 343 and Coalition versus Naughty Dog, that's what allows for them to be, Naughty Dog 2. So they can do more games. They got the 2 games they do, but your staff is worn out and you're not really going around helping a whole bunch of other people. Like I said, it depends on how they're really set up. Because like Microsoft, from what we know, their main studios help the little studios and each other. Naughty Dog, as far as we know, just helps Naughty Dog. They don't help anybody else. Now, Guerrilla Games, we've heard they're kind of helping out Death Stranding a little bit, or at least Death Stranding team is using their engine. But other than that, we don't know shit about, we don't know if they're actually helping out or doing code or any of that shit. I don't know. I mean, it's just different teams. I just feel that, people tend to give their ideas of what they fucking know nothing about. Because even I mean, I'm giving my thoughts on this, but I'm saying it based on I don't know what they're doing because they don't say shit. So all I'm doing is speculating but I can't be like, oh well, they should do this because I feel that this other, but I don't know. Like, why does some like that'd be like me saying like, well, my dad has, as a kid, but like my dad had one job his whole life, so why'd your dad have to work three? But like, well, there might be circumstances. Maybe your dad, maybe his dad wanted to work three jobs. Maybe he did. Maybe he couldn't afford to work one job. That's a possibility too. There's a lot of different reasons why people do the shit they do. Maybe 343 is done the way it is because one, they do a lot of updates for their games. They don't just make the game. I mean, because look, Sony, they could shut the servers down at any point. Gravity Rush got their servers just shut down. That shit ain't never happened in the fucking. That's another thing, bro. I didn't even think about that shit. All the Gears servers work. So for Gears 2, I don't know. There's Gears 1. I'm not sure about Gears 1, but Gears 2, Gears 3, Gears Judgment, those fucking servers still work. Along with Gears of War 4. Same thing goes with Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, and Halo Master Chief Collection, and Halo 5. All those servers still work, right? So you still got people at 343 that have to work on those servers to make sure they're up and operational. So that's another thing. That's another thing that those people, could be working on too. I mean, I think with a lot of these PlayStation games, I mean, I don't know if Uncharted 2 servers are still up. I have no idea. For their multiplayer, who knows? Who knows if Uncharted 3 is even up, let alone Uncharted 2? Because we know they cut their shits off quick, man. MLB The Show, that shit, they cut that shit off a year and a few days after. And they'll probably do the same thing for last year's. When 2000 and, which one are they on? 2018? And when 2018 comes out for MLB The Show, they're probably going to cut that shit off like sometime in, a few months after, or if not, a month after MLB The Show 18 comes out. I'm just saying. Where they're going to be working on, once Sea of Thieves drop, they're going to be working on that shit for a bit. So, I mean, we gotta, it's just different, man. It's just different. These two studios are not built the same. They don't do the same exact things. They don't, hold the audiences the same on both platforms, It's just different, man.
They created multiple new IPs, They had Crash Bandicoot under their belt. They had Jack and Daxter under their belt. Then they went to Uncharted. Now they have The Last of Us, and most likely they'll be.
Well, yes. What'd you have? So Naughty Dog did have a couple. They started with Crash Bandicoot. They lost. Well, they sold that rights to Activision. That game was big, but never, and it was never as big as a Halo, never as big as a Gears. So it's easy to say, look at it this way. Uncharted 4 was probably the best-selling Uncharted ever, right? Which is the reason why they turned around and made Uncharted Lost Legacy, because of Uncharted 4. Because they already had a DLC in mind for Uncharted 4, but because of the success of Uncharted 4, they decided to make it a standalone game. Similar to what Halo did with Halo ODST, right? They have with Bungie, right? Bungie had Halo 3, huge success, probably the biggest Halo game to date. They turned around and made Halo ODST, a standalone game based off of Halo 3, right? And you say, well, but like they could have, Bungie, they didn't have to do that. They could have just, turned around and just started working on Halo Reach. But they didn't. They made ODST. Why? because of the popularity of the game and money. Like I said, Naughty Dog is in a different position than 343 and Coalition because their game, Uncharted, remember, I think, if I'm not mistaken, The Last of Us outdid Uncharted first. It was a bigger game, and then Uncharted came out, and then Uncharted 4 came out, and then became, bigger than what the previous Uncharted were. So therefore, now you have, all of a sudden you got two solid franchises that have this critical acclaim, and now we're actually getting the public acknowledgement that they weren't getting prior to, because even Uncharted 2 didn't sell astronomical. It did well. It did its money. It made its numbers. I think it was like 6 million or something like that. But it wasn't doing what Gears was doing, or what and Halo was doing, like double figures and shit. So but let's see. Let's continue.
He's working on another IP, a futuristic sci-fi IP. I'll talk more about that in another video because a lot of people ask me, "How do I know about this?" I'm gonna have to tell you the whole story on how I know, right? And it's not because I have contacts or anything. I don't really have any, people. I'm not. I don't have industry insiders. I'm not there yet, you know. But we'll talk about that later. But you can clearly see how other studios are handling dual projects. Even Naughty Dog, I mean not Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch. Now they have a second project to handle, which is Ghost of Tsushima when they have Infamous. Hell,
again, another game. Infamous was not a successful game. Like, this is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. It's easy to make a new game, when the last game you had Infamous was never as big as freaking Uncharted, and it was never big as Halo or Gears. It just wasn't. Never was there. So for it to be moved, that'd be like, what I would equate it to? The Sucker Punch. They would be like a slightly better Lionhead if Lionhead was still around. Like, they had their success, but it was never the pinnacle of what a Gears or a Halo was with Lionhead. People liked it. It had some critical acclaim, but at the end of the day, it just never reached the public or touched, really drew in the audience that those other games did, similar to Infamous, right? And Infamous Second Son was a good-looking game, right? Graphically, it had all the stuff that you want, but people just didn't have interest in playing that. It is what it is.
Another one is Gorilla. Gorilla was in charge of Killzone, right?
Yeah, shitty game.
And not only while they were doing Killzone, because remember, Killzone came out like in 2013 and launched, and it was around the same time they started Horizon Zero Dawn, or they already started Horizon Zero Dawn. But not only were they developing Horizon Zero Dawn around the time, finishing up Killzone Shadowfall, but they created a new engine to make the game. So they created their own stuff. So they did more than just make a new IP. They're creating engines that even other people could use. For example, Kojima. The Death Stranding game is based on a Killzone engine, which is the Decima engine.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. The development team isn't developing the game and they're creating the engine at the same time. You have your engineers that create the engine, and then you have your development team that's working on the game. You don't have people that are working on the game and creating the engine. I call bullshit on that. It's not the same thing. That'd be like somebody's asking you to do your regular job and be like, you know what? I know that you're a teacher and this is what you do, and you're going to teach all these lectures. But in the meantime, I need you to do what you would normally do, grade all these papers, do all that. But I need you to write 3 books. What the fuck? Oh, hell no. And I need them I need them in 2 years. I need 3 books, a total of 2,000 pages in 3 books with all the tech specs and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, hell no. Hell no. No, they have different teams for that, man. I'm not saying that Guerrilla Games, they didn't have engineers in Guerrilla Games that did that, but let's not get with the wild shit, you know. Shit, what are you talking about? Jesse Williams and Detroit Human looking ass up. What? What does that even mean? Is that lucking ass up? I don't know what that means, bro. Andrew, you always be watching some wild shit, bro. All right, let me see what else is up in here, man.
Killzone Engine, I'm sorry. It's based on Gorilla's engine called the Decima engine.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did they make a new IP, they created a whole new generational engine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why this is so difficult to make the decision to say, hey, Coalition, you know, we're going to give you the green light to make a new IP, because I'm sure these guys have great ideas to implement in a game, you know? I'm sure they have vision. These guys are artists. I know they have something under their belt that they would love to push.
Well, I don't understand why it's so hard to understand that people have options to choose to do whatever they want, right? So if you came to the Coalition to work on Gears, you know that's what his name, and you got to remember, the Coalition was Black Tusk Studio. They voted for the studio to become Coalition. They asked the teams what did they want to make, this new IP or make Gears. They chose Gears, so they made Gears, right? That's what it is. Now, you got to also remember that this is a new team that's working on Gears for the first time. That's another thing. This isn't the same team that worked on Gears 1, 2, and 3. This is a whole new team. So they redid Gears 1 to learn the ropes on Gears. Then they did Gears 4, right? And now they're probably not going to make another Gears or have another Gears release until probably 2020, more than likely. I wouldn't say 19. I'd probably say 20 that the game comes out. All right. And this is where you'll actually see, you know, some more new features in Gears of War. Now, we don't know how they'll improve it. They're not going to change the art style and not make it look like Gears of War. They're just not going to do that, you know. Similar to, like, you're not going to change the art style and make Halo not look like Halo. Or whatever big franchise. You're not going to change the art. I can't say they did that to God of War, but you know, again, a smaller title. So, you know, the fan base, obviously, they're not in a big uproar about it because it's just not that many of them that really care, you know, that are there enough to create the waves in comparison to a Gears or a Halo, you know, or whatever. It means your what? Your area half white retarded clown. That dude, what are you writing, bro? I don't even understand this shit. Anyway.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of the ideas they have, they can't implement in Gears because Gears is just not that type of game. So they need a whole new IP to truly, you know, flush out these brilliant ideas. You see, this stagnates the industry. When you're just stuck doing one thing, that's called stagnation.
Yeah, this is the guy that plays Destiny, right? Bungie just made a Destiny. They made Destiny when they come out in 2015. Destiny dropped in 2017. You just got Destiny. He just played both Destiny 1, Destiny 2. That's two back to back the same title. That's stagnation in his opinion. I'm just saying.
You know, where's the creativity? Where's the imagination?
Again, Destiny, but okay, go ahead.
Behind game development. I mean, I'm not saying Gears ain't a great game and that it shouldn't be made. It should be made. Continue to make the game, you know, just like Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 was made. But they're also making The Last of Us 2. And that's coming soon, 2019 or so. Think about it this way. Come on, let's put Naughty Dog and Coalition side by side. They both released their big IP in May 2016. Naughty Dog launched Uncharted 4. A couple months later, in October 2016, Coalition launched Gears of War 4.
Actually, if you think about this, there has been an Uncharted game on PS4 for 3 straight years. There was Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection that they copied off of the Master Chief collection. There was Uncharted 4, and then there was Uncharted Lost Legacy. That's 3 Uncharteds in 3 years. I'm just saying. Coalition did too. They did the first Gears of War remastered, and they did Gears of War 4. All right. So they did 2 Gears of War. So one for 2015, one for 2016. All right. Halo did the same thing. They did Halo Master Chief Collection, then Halo. But do we have any other game? I don't think they're gonna remaster Crackdown. I don't see. They're probably just gonna give us Crackdown with it. Anything else? I don't know any other games that are like, other than Fable. Nah, they're not gonna. Will they remaster it? I mean, Fable's already been remastered though. At least the first one has. I don't see it.
Right? Cool. Now, for the next IP, and I'm not even going to talk about the Uncharted DLC. I'm not even going to talk about that. But for the next big IP, Naughty Dog is about to release The Last of Us 2. What is Coalition going to release? Another Gears. Like, when you hear that, doesn't that like when you sit back and you look, you're thinking, well, shit. You got 2 developers. Each developer released their big IP. One was Uncharted 4. The other developer released Gears of War 4. Now, the next project that's coming out for them, Naughty Dog is doing The Last of Us 2. But the other developer is releasing another Gears.
Again, they're making money. It is what it is. At the end of the day, more people play on Gears than Uncharted, which is why Microsoft is willing to have that team work on this one game, because it makes so much money. If it didn't make so much money, Microsoft wouldn't have them working on one game. I mean, like I said at the beginning, the argument of Gears and Halo being flops is beyond false. Because if that was the case, they would be working on other games. They wouldn't go and bash their head against the wall trying to get the same game and then finding out that you get the same result. I'm just saying, that whole narrative, oh, those games flopped, or this game flopped, or it didn't sell as well as it did. Nah, buddy. They have a chance. Now, like I said, they're also working on other games, but the studio is not they're not the lead studio on that game. So if I don't know, Crash Clown game developer, right, is working on this game, and Gears of War, the Coalition is helping with some animation or shooting mechanics, and the 343 is helping out with some I don't know, some motion caption, or whatever it is, then it is what it is, but because the game is so successful, that's why they're able. Like, you got to look at it like this, right? Look at it as a school, because basically, remember, when you go into these gaming places, it's called campuses, right? So in a university, you have the biggest teams bring in the biggest sports teams bring in the most money, right? So whether or not your school is a big football school, a big basketball school, or maybe it does both, big football, basketball, maybe big on baseball, maybe it's a big volleyball school. It depends on what, maybe it's a big in track. It depends on, what's your school known for, right? And that's basically what provides you with money to support the other sports that your school provides. So the football team gets enough money to buy uniforms and equipment for the ladies field hockey team, right? The basketball team, like for Duke, provides enough money and to support the jerseys and the equipment for the Duke hockey team or whatever the hell. You see what I'm saying? The other thing, Gears is by far the most more successful than Uncharted. Same for Halo. They are cash cows. Well, yeah, that's why they're billion-dollar franchises. And the other thing is like Halo and Gears make money off of those action figures too, man. They got a lot of like licenses that they, comic books and shit like that, novels. So there's a lot of money to be made off of these franchises. It's not just like there's no Uncharted comic book as far as I know. There's no Uncharted toy line as far as we know. There's no Last of Us toy line as far as we know. There might be like McFarlane or something like that, maybe. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they probably do have something like that, but as far as like just a regular toy line with some toy company, no. It's not there. Not yet. It might get there, but it's not there yet. What does Andrew say? Everyone already knows the expansion of Uncharted was coming. If you bought the season pass on Uncharted, it was free. Everybody knew there was a season pass. They did not know it was going to be a standalone, sir. And I don't know how much that shit costs. I can't say. I know it was $40 standalone. I don't know how much it cost for the season pass. Can't tell you. But I know a lot of people that bought Uncharted bought the season pass and never played the multiplayer. Just saying. Cash cow. Oh yeah. Other things is like saying that the cash cow supports all the other projects. Well, I mean, yeah, man, definitely. Like, like all the money that shit. Look at well, granted, Minecraft, I don't believe they have it separate from Xbox. I don't think it's under the Xbox game umbrella per se. I think it's more so Microsoft. I think that's why they're able to. That's why they, just say, okay, since it's not Xbox, we're able to still put it on like other platforms without having to have Xbox all over it. They could just write Microsoft. But that's how it's always been. The biggest games you make always fund the new projects that they get. It's not rocket science, but cats act like it is. If you making money is based off of this particular project that you have, you're not going to slow that up from making you money to make something different. I'm just saying. I mean, we haven't seen Sony has never. Let's put it this way: out of all the years that Sony's been around, their biggest game is what's that game? Gran Turismo, right? It's their billion-dollar franchise, but it's been around a long fucking time, right? And in their I think it was like almost 25 years of being around, Xbox has been able to have 3 franchises that are billion-dollar franchises. You have Gears, you have Forza, and you have Halo. But you know what? Is Forza? I'm not sure if Forza is $1 billion. I know it's close, but I'm not sure it's full $1 billion yet. But you have Gears, Halo, and then you're gonna have Forza in the second because you still, you got the Forza Horizon. Right now you're looking at for PlayStation, Uncharted is creeping up there, it's close, and you got freaking Gran Turismo. That's it. That's all you got. 2. 25 years, you got 2. Xbox has like 3 and freaking in 15 years. And Nintendo, they got, I don't know how many they got Pokemon's probably $1 billion by itself. I don't know if they own Tetris per se, but I know Tetris is $1 billion franchise if Nintendo owns that. What else? I don't know if Zelda. I mean, I would think Zelda's a $1 billion franchise, but Zelda's never really sold that much. It's always been huge, like critically, but never really sold that much. And obviously, Mario. I'd just say Mario because it's Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. That shit all falls under Mario to me. That's all like the same shit. Just Mario Golf, Mario this, Mario that. But yeah, man, this shit is crazy. This shit is crazy. Oh, what else is up here? Is it Minecraft belongs on the Xbox division? It might. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. Let's hear a little bit more of this, and I'll be out because I gotta make some lunch.
And then wouldn't it be a slap in the face that shortly before or after The Last of Us 2 launches, Naughty Dog unveils their new IP? And what does Coalition unveil? Another Gears. At what point do you say enough? Again, I'm not saying Gears is a bad game. It's a great.
I think this is where the issue is. People that like Gears don't care about what Naughty Dog is doing for Uncharted. Like my boy that likes Halo doesn't care that Uncharted there's another. He doesn't care about Uncharted. He doesn't give a shit about Uncharted. Uncharted doesn't even exist to him. I tried to get him to play Shadow War. He was like, "Oh, I like it," but he played it like twice. All other time he's just playing Halo. I ask him all the time, I'm like, "Yo, dude, why don't you just play something else for a little bit?" He'd be like, just like Halo, man. He just likes Halo. And then on the rare occasion he does play something for a little bit other than Halo, it was Titanfall, the first one. When Titanfall was still, I mean, the new one's all right, but it's the maps, man. The maps is just not designed vertically like the older ones were. I don't know. Hopefully Titanfall 3, if they make it, man, they could fix that issue, make the maps better. But anyway, like I said, man, I don't look, man, they're doing what they do. I'm just saying, like, the Coalition was built to make Gears. That's their shit. They make Gears. I think people get it fucked up when they think because Naughty Dog does this and that everybody else should do that. It's just like, yo, dude, that's Naughty Dog shit, and that works fine for them. But that doesn't necessarily work fine for a Coalition. And like I said, you can't just copy and paste like Uncharted to get The Last of Us for Gears and some other game. It just won't work that way. The art style is way too distinct for you to just be like, oh, we're gonna make another game using the same character models as Gears of War, but we're gonna call it Hunter Deep or some shit, whatever the fuck. Or even just say they call it Shanghai Knights or whatever, right? They call it Shanghai Knights. They use the same character models. They're still gonna have to build a whole new world and assets off of assets that are way different than what the Gears of War is. So it's just like that's just gonna take way longer than it would for them to make The Last of Us. Because the thing is, with The Last of Us, you gotta realize you're going from Drake being in ruins than to what the fuck is that guy's name? I forget what the guy's name is. Whatever the fuck, the beard guy and Ellie, running around in like run down, post-apocalyptic world and shit. Both places look fucked up, so you could use a lot of those same assets. Both places need a ton of shrubbery because you got plant overgrow for The Last of Us, and then you got a lot of jungle scenes and shit like that for Uncharted. There's a lot of using of the same material. You cannot do that for Gears. Gears is mad distinct. Like, it's everything about that world has a specific look. For them to do something, other than Gears, they're gonna have to start from scratch. They can't just copy and paste. You can't just use the character model for JD for some super spy and be like, oh, this is Shanghai Nights now. Everybody's gonna look at that shit like, huh? The fuck? This is Gears of War fucking spy. Like, you didn't even change the shit up. Now because you gotta be honest. Uncharted could be any game. Any game could use that animation. There's so many other games that could come out and look just like fucking Uncharted, yo. You said Queen Trash is coming for me. Oh man, I'm scared now. But yeah, like Uncharted has, man, you can look at it and be like, all right, how does it look any different than Watch Dogs? Does it look any different than I wouldn't say Grand Theft Auto, because Grand Theft Auto does have a different look than other open world games. But shit, Uncharted, freaking Days Gone, and The Last of Us all look the goddamn same. I mean, as far as just look at the character models and the assets used in those worlds, they look the same. Like, everything looks the same. You could just, shit. With Days Gone, they literally could have just taken most of the assets from The Last of Us and then just built a couple of shits here and there, and then there you go, Days Gone. Shit, that motorcycle looks damn near out of Uncharted. I'm just saying. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, people acting like, oh, this game is so much different than that game. It's not. It looks the same. Now, if they didn't have such distinct art styles, maybe Uncharted, not Uncharted, Halo and Gears of War, Coalition and 343 could have, made a game that looked, good enough to not look exactly like, oh, this is a complete ripoff of Gears of War and Halo. But because they do, and those games are so distinct, it's just like, hey man, it's just hard to do. So stop repeating all the stupid lies you hear from Xbox people. Uncharted and The Last of Us are nothing alike. You got nonsense from Zaire. How you figure? They do look alike. What are you talking about, bro? You can look it up right now. No.
Every place I've went, I've had to adapt to it and get used to the.
This better not be long. 3 hours. What the hell are we talking about?
It's still only the first injury that the cameraman is suffering from when you reach the end of this part. Okay.
Are they talking about this whole thing?
But it's over. He can't go any further.
I'm not listening to this. Where's the last?
Which is fine. You don't stay outside for long and end up exploring this gigantic
This is like
manor
Last of Us 2.
place, and I have a theory about that.
No, this is the one. This has got to be 1 or Vita because this shit looks horrible. Let me get the shit off the screen. What the fuck?
So when Nathan or anything, there's no interesting twist on gameplay by having him forced to use different tactics or having him weaken like he was when he was carrying the camera guy in Uncharted 2. And I would be willing to forgive all of that. I really would, except that after you kill all these guys, Nathan doesn't drink any of the fucking water that they were carrying. They just established that they have water. The game went out of its way to show you, yet he doesn't take any, just ammo and guns and grenades instead. This part goes on for several battles, and he doesn't fucking drink. What was the point of the Desert Odyssey if it didn't do anything, and if the game promptly forgets about it 5 seconds after it's over? Anyway, you're rescued by some...
Where's The Last of Us, man?
As for the zombies, they provide a lot of variety, not just kind of weird movements. When enemies are shooting, more grounded in reality.
I'm gonna tell you right here. This shit.
Initially, it may appear that it's solely about Joel, just like Nathan is clearly.
I'm gonna tell you right here. For The Last of Us, man, that gunplay was shit, bro. That shit was shit. Y'all talked about that PUBG shit? Oh, man. PUBG, at least you shooting against real people. This shit, oh, my God. That shit is crazy, bro.
Sully has a new plane that looks similar to the one in the first game. They walk toward it, and that's the end. It's not quite as abrupt an ending as Drake's Fortune, but neither does it provide enough time to come down as Among Thieves. It's a weak end to an overall solid game, which I have probably made sound a lot worse than it is by doing the nitpicky story thing. The reason for that is that it tried to be more than its predecessors. It gave itself more to work with, more space to have stuff purely for the story, and unfortunately failed to bring it all together in a cohesive way. Whether that was because of time constraints or some trouble with developing the final few chapters, I can't say. It is the story and how it's told, which are two distinct things in my mind. It's a decent story that's told very, very well. It doesn't necessarily use video games as a medium to tell that story in a unique way, but at the risk of having to give up my credit card, I don't think that every video game needs to aspire to doing that. On the surface, the game has a lot in common with Uncharted. They're both third-person shooters. Combat involves frequent use of cover between shooting.
Wait, hold up. Run that back. Run that back, because he just said something that you failed to ignore.
It is its story and how it's told, which are two distinct things in my mind. It's a decent story that's told very, very well. It doesn't necessarily use video games as a medium to tell that story in a unique way, but at the risk of having to give up my credit card, I don't think that every video game needs to aspire to doing that. On the surface, the game has a lot in common with Uncharted. They're both third-person shooters. Combat involves frequent use of cover between shooting. There's some stealth sections, yet a lot of small tweaks all compound together to make it something very different. For the story, one of the reasons that I like it so much is that it's one of the best games that has ever managed to pull off both gameplay and a narrative that works together.
Now that I will agree with. Yes, the gameplay is similar to Uncharted, but it's like a slowed down version of it. So instead of shooting off 100-round clips and all that shit, you got bullets that are very scarce to get. Everything's a little bit more methodical. And the story is good. I give it that. More than anything, I always thought the Uncharted story was kind of cheesy. But The Last of Us story is the most compelling part of the game. That's that no lie. That's the most compelling part of the game. That's why people continue playing, because the story is good. It's good writing. Gameplay is okay. I've seen better. It's like a stealthy survival sort. I mean, the thing is, it's survival, but it's it's hard to be. To me, it'll never match something like State of Decay as far as its survival aspect, because there's no real sense of loss in these games. Now, they could change that up with like the next Last of Us. Like they'll like whatever decision you make might cause this person or that person not to survive or whatever, then I could be like, okay, you know, that'll, but still, even then, it still won't match State of Decay because like when they're gone, it's over. You're gonna build up this relationship, that's your homie, your lover, whoever, and you done fucked up and now they're gone and it's a wrap. I mean, it is what it is. He said Jay Long says Alan Wake destroys The Last of Us. It's a different story. And The Last of Us is more like a movie, and Alan Wake is more like a Netflix series. To me, I think both are great. Like it'd be like comparing it versus Stranger Things to me, right? Like I don't want to lose neither one. I enjoyed it and I enjoy Stranger Things. So if you tell me to choose one, I say I want both. But if you ask me which one do I like better, I would have to say Stranger Things. Even though I thought it was also really good. This shit was freaky, man. It was freaky. I still didn't beat the Alan Wake American Nightmare, man. I'm not sure if that bitch ends, man. I felt like I done played that shit like through 5 times and it keeps on looping it. And I'll be like, God damn it, is this going to end? Or am I just going to be playing this shit and it's supposed to be looping like this? Like it's like endless play again, you know, cycle after cycle after cycle.
Aside from 2 moments, the gameplay is king mantra does not interfere with this game's story, nor do I think that gameplay was ever sacrificed in order for some part of the story to be told. Some people might disagree with that since the game uses a lot of movies, but I don't think these happen often enough to weigh down the game. There are probably ways that the player could have retained control in many of these parts, just like similar scenes do in Half-Life 2, but all you need to do is go back and replay that game in order to see that uninteractable movies can sometimes be the better choice. Both ways have their merits. The Last of Us is about 2 people, Joel and Ellie. Initially, it may appear that it's solely about Joel, just like Nathan is clear guy who saw me to death, and finish up with a gunfight. Sometimes I would be successful in silently clear level, but most of the time this 2-act drama would be what happens.
I would say this about The Last of Us, more so than Uncharted. The Last of Us sound effects are mad more visceral than Uncharted to me. Like every hit sounds like it's way more impactful and like over the top than Uncharted, where it's almost like you're playing Street Fighter, the open world version. Motherfuckers out there doing sonic booms and uppercuts and shit.
Unfortunately, the combat does have some problems. The first one is one of those gameplay is king issues that I mentioned about a minute ago. Enemies have lots of guns and infinite ammo. When you kill them, you aren't able to loot any of them. This annoys me because the game tries to be realistic in so many other ways, but it gets worse when you play enough and start to learn how ammo drops work, because it's only sometimes that enemies will drop ammo, and it's almost always for the weapon that you're currently using, and only when supplies start to get low. The game is making these small adjustments as you play in order to make sure that you always have some ammo, but little enough that you never feel comfortable enough to waste any of it. If you had lots of ammo drop, then all of the stress in combat would be lost and you could just aim your shots without caring about where they're going to go. If you made it so enemies ran out of bullets, then that wouldn't be good either, since you could cheese battles by waiting them out. Although now that I'm saying that, if the AI was a little better, then that could be a rewarding experience for smart players, if they would bait out shots to make them lose their ammunition to get out of bad situations. That actually sounds pretty good. Just because I can't think of a solution doesn't mean one doesn't exist, though, so it's still worth pointing out the problem, in my opinion.
I'm just saying. But this game got a 10 out of 10, bro. I'm not saying it wasn't a good game. I'm just saying it got a 10 out of 10. And he clearly states the issues in the game. Gameplay. That's what I always said, man. People ignore, you know what it is? People ignore the gameplay if the story is good enough to compel them, which I feel is kind of shitty, man. Like if the gameplay is shit, that should be counted against you. You can't just be like, well, all right. That'd be like, all right. So say if you had a rating for a game and be like, all right, I'm gonna give 5 points for the overall gameplay. If the gameplay is on point, 5 points. And then on top of that, if the story is on point, another 5 points. That gives you to a perfect 10. But if the story, and remember, it's supposed to be 5 points, gameplay, story. Now, what they do is they'll be like, all right, that's the rules for Xbox. 5 points, 5 points. So Xbox will be like, oh, you know what? The gameplay is great. But guess what? We don't like this story. So we're going to take off 3 points for the fucking story and, you know, leave them with 2, and then they're going to get a 7, right? But this game right here for PlayStation, man, this story was amazing. Gameplay, not so good. Now, technically, we would take off 3 points for the gameplay and just have the 5 on for the story, leaving it at a 7. But because we like this story so much, we're going to add on 3 more points. So now the story, instead of it rating as 5 for the story, it's going to be 8. And then the 2 points for the gameplay, now it's a perfect 10. Like, what the fuck? This shit is crazy, bro. That's how I feel when I be watching these reviews. I be like, yo, man, what are y'all doing here? Why is it always like y'all switching this shit up? Like, stay consistent. I'm just saying, where is that consistency? But anyway, man, I gotta get some shit done, man. But this is your boy Live Wire, man. I'll holler at y'all later. Check out this video by this dude, Joseph Andrews. It was pretty good, man. Pretty good. He's just talking about Uncharted, not shitting on it, just talking about, you know, its pros and its cons. And The Last of Us. Anyway, this is your boy Live Wire. I'm out this bitch, baby. Peace.